Hello, I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again for a walk in the countryside. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're at the little hamlet of SEATOWN in Dorset. It's located about 7.5 miles east of Lyme Regis and 3 miles west of Bridport on the Jurassic Coast. And we're going to be doing a roughly 4-mile circular-ish walk from SEATOWN along the coast eastwards to Thorncombe Beacon and then Eype Mouth before heading back their Doghouse farm. Now I'm filming at the end of May. It is another glorious day. The sun's out, blue sky, blue sea, a little bit of wind, perfect temperature for walking. So do come along with us. Well, I've parked my car at a car park here. It was £6 for the whole day. It's not a very big place, a few houses and a pub. Let's have a little wander around before we head out on our main part of the walk. And this is the beach. A few eager fishermen out there today. Now, unfortunately, dogs aren't allowed on the beach between the 1st of May and the 30th of September. So we're just going to have to view from here. What a gorgeous scene. Looking over to the right, that's Golden Cap in the west there, the highest point on the south coast at 191 metres high. And just round the corner, of course, is Lyme Regis, and that's often quoted as being the landing place for the Monmouth Rebellion on the 11th of June 1685. That was an attempt to depose James II, led by James Scott, the first Duke of Monmouth, the eldest illegitimate son of Charles II. But actually, an advance party landed here at SEATOWN, including the Duke's cavalry commander, Colonel Venner, who was to be wounded later on at the Battle of Bridport, which was the first skirmish of the uprising. And there's the Anchor Inn, which has 18th century origins. And the cove here was popular with smugglers, and in 1750 SEATOWN was given its own exciseman to keep control. However, it was very much a thankless task, compounded by the fact that the local squire was in fact the leader of the smuggling gang. Sadly, the exciseman was shot dead at the top of the pub stairs as he was trying to eavesdrop on a group of smugglers below. His ghost is said to wander the premises. Anyway, this could be our final destination. But an 1896 map actually shows SEATOWN as having a corn mill, a farm and a Coast Guard station. And this little river here is the River Winifred, flowing out to sea. It's only 3 miles long and its source is in the north at Thorncombe Hill, and it flows through Chiddock. Okay, so we're now going to kick off on our countryside walk, initially heading on the southwest coast path, which is that 630-mile long distance path that runs all the way from Poole in Dorset around the coast to Minehead in Somerset. So we'll say goodbye to SEATOWN temporarily because we'll be finishing up here. We'll also be checking out the Anchor Inn, purely for reference purposes, for the sake of the video, of course. Right, looks like we've got an uphill bit to start off with. Whew, a little breather as we're making our way up this hill. But to be honest, this is one of those days when you need to stop every few minutes just to take in the views. I mean, the sea is looking quite Mediterranean today, so that's looking back at SEATOWN and Golden Cap. Because all the fields looking very lush and green at the moment. The grass very much at its best. This is just panning round to the north. That's a little village of Chiddock, which we actually came from to get to SEATOWN. I say the views are quite stunning. Oh, I tell you, it's one of those days where it really feels great to be alive. So we're continuing along the southwest coast path. Now, just on the ridge there, just on the other side is a steep drop. I think it's called Ridge Cliff, so I'm keeping a little bit away from that. And then if I slowly pan the camera out to the countryside behind me, it really is quite breathtaking. And then I'm going to carefully show you where we're going, but I'm afraid I might be pointing directly to the sun, so you might not see it, but we're going to head up that hill. I think it's called Doghouse Hill, and there should be some great views when we get to the top of that. Well, a handy little bench halfway up the hill. Good place to, again, just stop and look back and see where we've been. I think that's hawthorn down there in the brilliant white in the sunshine, and I love, well, I can't see what it is here, some sort of wild flower that's blue. Just that patch on the side, so colourful. Well, just on top of what I think is Doghouse Hill, I'm just seeing the far distance West Bay, which of course we've done a walk there in the past, and up on the hill there's Thorncombe Beacon, which is our next destination. I see some sheep up here, so I'm going to have to put Logan on a lead for the next section. Now, just looking north, you can probably see a little hill with some trees on top. We're actually going to do a walk there in the future, so I won't tell you too much about it now. And up here on Doghouse Hill, they reckon West Dorset's oldest human settlement was once here, with finds as far back as the Mesolithic age, the sort of Middle Stone Age, sort of 10,000 BC to 4,000 BC-ish. And they were very much hunter-gatherers using flints. Because what you have to remember is sort of 8,000, 6,000 years ago, this area was probably about a mile inland from the sea. Well, we've made it to Thorncombe Beacon, which you can see just behind me. And I think the name of the hill here is actually called Thorncombe Beacon. And it's owned by the National Trust. And well, there was a beacon erected here in 1588 as part of the system to warn folk of the advance of the Spanish Armada. And if I just slowly pan the camera around, looking to the north, and particularly the northeast, there are a series of 4 bowl barrows here, and they appear to point towards Colmer's Hill in the north. And I was reading that some of the mounds are called the Devil's Jumps, and legend has it that they were made where the devil bounced when the abbot of Ford Abbey kicked him out to sea, because Ford Abbey is 12 or 14 miles to the northwest of here. Oh, a nice little downhill bit. I say I keep going on about these views, I must stop, but I really understand. It looks like there's an old-fashioned sheep dip down in the field there. We'll have to investigate that. Well, as we're heading downhill, I'm never sure which I prefer, uphill or downhill. I think my knees prefer uphill. Now, as well as being on the southwest coast path, we're also on the Monarch's Way, which is that 625-mile long distance path that represents the escape route of Charles II after his defeat at the Battle of Worcester in 1651. and it starts at Worcester. I think it goes to Bristol, then Yeovil, and then Shoreham. Well, now that I'm up close, it certainly looks as though it is an old sheep dip. I seem to remember from an 1896 map it was annotated either as a well or a sheep dip, and as you can see it's being fed by fresh water, presumably coming off the ridge. Oh, it's certainly well preserved. I mean, I wonder how old this is. Just looking back up at the Thorncombe Beacon, which is just on the other side of the little ridge there, just shows how steep the hill is that we've just come down. I mean, well, it's not quite 45 degrees, but close to it. We're just about to drop down into Eype Mouth. Now, Eype is Old English for steep place. I can certainly concur with that. Although it's also suggested that the name comes from Greek traders who came from Epirus or Epirus in the 7th century, and who built a temple and burial place on Quor Hill, which is to the north of here. And the mouth is basically a natural break in the cliffs where the river Eype flows out to sea. And then just in front of me here, this is a little village of Lower Eype, and there's a little church on the brow of the hill. We might see if we can look at that later on. And then presumably that must be Higher Eype over to the left. And here we are at Eype Mouth, the river just behind me feeding into the sea, and I'm pleased to say that this is a dog friendly beach, so let's have a little bit of a wander. Well, that should be fresh water for you lads, so quench your thirst. Although I have got bottled water anyway, but that's better, isn't it? Right, shall we go for a little dip? Oh, I just love the sound of waves crashing against the pebbles there. It's quite a stony and pebbly beach, not easy to walk on, but on a day like today, superb place to come and just take in the sun. So this is looking back, you see Thorncombe Beacon at the very top when we came down, and then into Eype Mouth. And we're shortly going to start heading inland. Oh, it really is a beautiful part of the coastline here. Looking up on the cliffs, got these purple wildflowers clinging on for dear life, but looking splendid in the sunshine. Well, a walk along the Jurassic Coast wouldn't be complete without a World War II pillbox, and sure enough there's one here in front of me, just up on the bank there. Presumably would have been guarding the river Eype below. Oh, it looks like there's a little information hut somewhere that you can buy postcards and little prints, and information boards telling you a little bit about the history of the place, and some lovely old photographs of what the area looked like in years gone by. And what have we got here? The Saladin disaster. Oh well, I'll take a photograph and put it up on screen for you. Yeah, a bit more information about smuggling, which of course was very popular around these parts. We're just wandering through Eype. Look at these quite gorgeous thatched cottages, and the gardens are so full of colour. Purples, yellows, whites, oranges. They are quite exquisite and so well presented as well. Well, that's the footpath that we're going to head back towards SEATOWN via Doghouse Farm, next to this sort of chalet house with quite amazing wisteria hanging off the balcony there. Eype Mouth Country Hotel, very magnificent it looks too, and I see it's even got a smuggler's bar. I tell you what, it's so peaceful through here, and these little narrow lanes, you can just imagine it being a haven for smugglers in years gone by. Who knows what could have been hidden down these little alleyways. It looks like we've got a pub ahead of us, the new inn at Eype. I think it shows on an 1896 map, but sadly, well, it's nearly 11:30, it's not open yet, otherwise of course we would have investigated further. And right next to it, this building here, it's a bit dark because it's on the sun's behind, but that's the old school, date of 1859. And this is St Peter's Church, which sits high on a ridge overlooking the village, built between 1864 and 1865 as a chapel of ease to St John the Baptist Church at Simonsbury to the north of here. And it's a cruciform plan, a nave, chancel, north and south transept and a south porch. A tower was intended, but they ran out of funds, so they had a bell turret on the west end instead. And in face of declining congregation, work was carried out on the church in 2002 to give it an additional role as an arts centre. Well, I'm afraid we can't have a look inside because it's locked, which is very unusual for a church in Dorset. Maybe it's got something to do with the fact that it's also an arts centre, I don't know. Right, we're going to now start heading westwards, back towards SEATOWN, but initially towards Doghouse Farm. And we'll have a little water stop before we start our return journey, just to quench our thirst. Oh, isn't that a lovely scene there? That'd make a lovely painting, wouldn't it? Meadow full of buttercups, and then the rolling Dorset Hill. Now, looks like they've already had a first cut for some silage in one of those fields. The year is passing by. Pit stop, folks, to admire the view. Just make our way through this quite delightful meadow, heading towards the farmhouse on the side of the hill there, and then just across there's the beacon just on the very top, and there's a field of beef cattle, because this is ideal pasture. The landscape around here and the grass is perfect for them. Well, I tell you, this must be one of the loveliest walks I've had through a meadow for a long time. Slightly uphill, but wasn't too bad. But everywhere I look, it's just bursting full of colour. What a super setting the house has got up there, that's for sure. That certainly gets some views. Well, these views just keep coming. Now, I'm on a slightly different footpath to the one that I was planning to go back, but it doesn't matter, there's 2 or 3 that I can go back. We're heading in the right direction, that's the important thing. And there's one of those barrows at the top that I was talking about earlier on, and yeah, there's the Thorncombe Beacon, and there's the hill that we went down on our outward journey. Sheep dip down there, and the sea again looking very calm today. And this is our final section of the walk. It's going to take us back into SEATOWN, so there's the path we're going to follow back, and yes, I can just about make out the Anchor Inn, where hopefully there's a pint of ale on the bar just waiting for me. Well folks, we've come to the end of our walk. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up and a like, and do leave a comment, and do check out our Facebook page, Dave's Countryside Walks. We've had a super walk today, and we've made it back to the Anchor Inn for a pint. Now, the channel's had well over 200 videos on it, but I think this is our 200th video together, me and Logan. So we're going to celebrate with some chips. Until we meet again, thanks for watching, and cheerio. Oh, I'm looking forward to this.